right, and good morning, everyone. This is Steve returning, doing a long-awaited book review. I know it's been a while since I've done one of these, but I just happened to be awake these last few hours of July 5th after the fireworks last night. I personally didn't attend anything, but as you can imagine, people in my apartment complex are lighting off fireworks last night, and so it kind of kept me a little bit awake. Plus, I wasn't working last night since I had the holiday off, paid holiday off, so I kind of appreciated that little extra rest there. Whoa, sorry about that. Knocked a few bottles over there. But again, this has kind of been a long time coming for another book review from me as of late. So I hope that you enjoy it. If you are a member of my channel already, I do appreciate you coming back and connecting with me and finding more about these book reviews as I have them coming out. And if you are new to my channel, I do appreciate you stopping by and listening to this review that I have set up here. I do suggest and request that you subscribe to my channel, of course, if you haven't already. And that way it does keep you up to date with any time that I put new videos out in the future. All right? So without further ado, we're going to jump into the book review today. And we are going to be covering the Grimoire of Santa Muerte, Volumes 1 and 2, by Sophia diGregorio. Okay. I really haven't purchased too many books on Santa Muerte. I have seen a number of videos online from other devotees and whatnot. One that kind of sticks out in my mind was one from J.D. Temple and Orly Stewart when they were, still part of E.A. Wedding's channel. They did do a review on, working with Santa Muerte. So I'm going to discuss a little bit about the books and a little bit about how I got involved working with her. These last few weeks. I haven't been working with her very much these last few weeks, but up to this point, things have been positive, of course, and I think that a certain type of audience will probably find it appealing to work with her, and I'll kind of cover that a little bit as well. Again, this is a 2-volume set available. I purchased mine through Amazon.com. Of course, you can go through any online outlet that you like to purchase them. Volume 1 is the Grimoire of Santa Muerte, Spells and Rituals of Most Holy Death, the Unofficial Saint of Mexico. Again, written by Sophia diGregorio and published in 2013 by Winter Tempest Books, and it consists of 117 pages. The second book in the or the volume 2 in the series, Grimoire of Santa Muerte, Altars, Meditations, Divination, and Witchcraft Rituals for Devotees of Most Holy Death. Again, Sophia diGregorio, published in 2016, again by Winter Tempest Books, and consists of 132 pages. So, first and foremost, there is a lot of history and a lot of controversy behind Santa Muerte, and I'm not going to get into the controversy, okay? I've seen enough footage online and in other places where, you have federal investigators and they're investigating some drug cartel or whatever, and then they see imagery and statues of Santa Muerte, and then you got like some crazy expert in there that makes a comment about like the altar setup and blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of controversy out there as with Santa Muerte and drug cartels and whatnot. But, just like in any other religion, any other faith, Christianity, Muslim, uh, paganism, whatever, there's extremists, okay? So I'm not going to pay attention to the extremists. I'm just kind of trying to give you information, and you can make your own decision as far as if this is, a saint that you want to work with. Because basically she is, again, an unofficial saint. Catholicism doesn't recognize her as a saint, but as I say, she is an unofficial saint to a lot of Latino, a lot of Mexicans, a lot of the much of the Mexican Catholic Church has gone as far as to like destroy a lot of altars and imageries to Santa Muerte in the past, but a lot of those are starting to pop up again, and a lot of Latino Catholics and non-Catholics actually flock to her for a variety of reasons, more so simply because they want to work with her. And quite simply, one of the reasons why Latinos and non-Latinos work with her, and she could be found in a lot of homes, is particularly, again, to devoted Catholics. You got imagery of Jesus Christ, and then you got an imagery of Santa Muerte right next to him. Quite simply, she answers the prayers of her devotees, Excuse me. And sometimes in a very expeditious manner, and sometimes in very unusual ways they get answered, and there's other reasons why people flock to work with her as of late, or these many years. But again, she works well, and as an addition to the Catholic faith, and she works well in many occult traditions as well. And so this is one reason why, again, you find, her imagery within households, or you find altars or temples set up to her throughout, parts of the Mexican region. So, I kind of wanted to kind of do like a little bit of working with her, as far as like aspects of death and whatnot. She seems to be kind of like on the lighter side. There are more aspects of death gods and goddesses out there that are a little more extreme as far as like, to work with. But, I kind of wanted to go this route. I did kind of enjoy the information that I found about her, and reading the material that I have, that I'm presenting to you now, as well as, talking with other people and listening to other discussions and whatnot. But one of the main reasons why I think this is a good book review, and it might be appealing to a certain population of occultists or new pagan practitioners, is particularly those who are crossing over from another faith, especially if you're crossing over from, say, like a Catholic faith. You're kind of, I know a lot of people that are crossing over from like a Catholic faith now to practice paganism, and they have like a lot of questions, and they're like on the fence regarding a lot of things, as far as like practices and rituals and stuff like that. And I think Santa Muerte might actually kind of like be appealing to some of them, because if you look at a lot of the material as far as like working with her, you still have some of those elements of Catholicism there. You still have, like, in a lot of prayers in the book, you have points that you're going to make the sign of the cross. You might say a Blessed Be or a Hail Mary or an Our Father, and there are those in the book, and that's fine. And of course there are pagan variations of that kind of remove that element of organized religion, and if again, it still doesn't appeal to you, there's no reason why you can't swap a few words around to make it more appealing for you. So again, I think that this could be a saint for some people that are just kind of like getting crossed over, before they decide to make any more like big decisions. Um, I know a lot of people that might like laugh at that idea. I know a couple people from online communities and chat forums that I belong to that would say that I'm an idiot for suggesting that. But I mean, you do what you want as far as like your practice goes. I'm merely presenting you information and a possibility, as to like why it might be appealing to you. Okay. Again, so in her devotion to her, there are similar elements again, as I said, to prayers and invocations that you might be familiar with from Catholicism. For instance, there's an invocation to Santa Muerte in the first volume that opens up that says, "O Lord, before your divine presence, the Holy Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, I ask permission to invoke most holy death." Well, that's kind of like the more Catholic version of it, or, the more organized religion version of it. However, again, there is that same invocation written in a pagan version, and again, that's provided in the book. All you gotta do is check that out. And these aren't the only books on Santa Muerte. There's dozens and dozens of them. I suggest that you find one that appeals to you, and definitely go for it. But this one was my choice, so this is what I went with. Santa Muerte is fairly welcoming to all. Other aspects of Santa Muerte is that she covers a lot of areas that you just don't find, and a lot of saints or deities that you might work with. For instance, she covers healing and illnesses and recovery and rejuvenation and money and wealth and success, and business success, and all forms of protection, from protecting unborn babies to pregnant women, protecting from acts of evil, and all sorts of protection, cleansing, psychic development, intuition, different forms of divination, again, restoration from health, revenge, dispelling conflicts, and the list is just, it goes on and on and on, So, within this one saint, this one individual, you have so many powers that be that it's kind of not surprising as to why so many people flock to her. Excuse me. Get a little tea here. So, how do you start working with Santa Muerte? Well, one of the best ways that I could suggest, and that other books suggest, and other discussion forums and other people who are devotees to Santa Muerte, who have their own channels, simply say that the best way that you can work with her is to invite her into your heart and home. Okay? One of the best ways you could do that is you clear out a space, maybe like on the top of a bookshelf, or, if you can't find any other space for that. But it really should be a space that is devoted only to her. A small table will work fine. Like a coffee table or something like that. But if you have other altars set up in the home, especially altars that are devoted to other saints or even other goddesses, make certain that her altar is set higher than the others, okay? No other saints or deities should share her space. She should have something devoted solely to her. And she is a spirit that does require devotion from her devotees, obviously. but she's not overly demanding about it. Okay, but if you do show your devotion and faith in her, and you do your prayers, and you ask her for protection and answers to your prayers, she will protect you and she will answer your prayers. And again, sometimes those happen in a very expeditious type of manner, and in a lot of ways, ways that you may not think that they would end up being answered, but they do go to being answered. If you live in the southwest of the U.S., you shouldn't have too much difficulty in finding imageries and statues of Santa Muerte, especially if you go to, say, like some Latino markets. However, if there is difficulty in finding imagery and statues, there are a lot of online sites. Amazon.com, obviously. You do have stuff that you can get from Santa Muerte there. Etsy.com, and a few other sites. You can find statues there. And if you can't find a statue, a simple prayer card with her image on it, set on the altar is fine until you can actually get like an actual statue of her. The candle is typically set on the altar as well, and that is usually based on what type of work you're doing. And white is probably a good general color to put on there. But obviously, if you're doing love magic or something like that, a red candle would be more appropriate. If you're doing something for negativity or protection, black candle would be more appropriate for that, so on and so forth. And I'll cover a little bit of that in a little bit later. So if a statue or a card cannot be obtained, there's a few other things you can do. You can set a skull on the altar, and that is actually acceptable. Now, I don't suggest that you go out and obtain a real human skull. That would probably be a little illegal. And if you did, that would probably be raising some suspicion and questions as far as to where you got the skull from. So it doesn't have to be real, but say a skull like made of resin would be an acceptable imagery until you, say, obtained a statue. As you obtain items for the altar, be certain that you cleanse them, your statue, your altar, stuff like that. This is generally done by taking a clean washcloth or a towel, and you damp it slightly with a bit of grain alcohol, usually rum or whiskey or tequila, and then you wipe down the objects to cleanse them of any negative energies that they may have accumulated before you got access to them. Aside from a statue or imagery of Santa Muerte, I would suggest that you acquire a rosary of Santa Muerte, and I will have a imagery of that, which looks something like this. Okay, and of course there are different types of rosaries for Santa Muerte. Just find one that appeals to you and go for it. Go ahead and purchase it. It's going to go on the altar. It's going to be blessed and consecrated and go on the altar with the statue. It looks fairly similar to a standard rosary used in Catholicism. However, instead of the cross at the end, there's usually an imagery of Santa Muerte, of course. So cleanse it again with the grain alcohol before consecrating it and using it. Once you have everything set up, give me just a moment here. So once you have set up already and it's ready to go, you want to follow through with the consecration of the altar to Santa Muerte. This can be found in volume 1 of the book, of course. And the consecration ritual takes 9 consecutive days to complete. And there's a small prayer that you have to do each day. Each one is just a little bit different over the course of the 9-day period, so go ahead and do that. You probably also want to do the dedication ritual to Santa Muerte, as she will want some type of devotion on your part towards her for asking, for the prayers and requests that you are making to her. And then you would probably also want to follow through with the ritual to consecrate a talisman to Santa Muerte. Use this in order to consecrate the statue as well as the rosary that you would be using in regular prayers to her. When it comes to Santa Muerte, there are lots of symbols and imagery to consider that are found to be associated with her, and a few to look for are things like bones, for instance. She may be standing on a pile of bones, or a pile of bones mixed in with coins and currency are probably under her feet. And bones are related to good and bad fortune, but the act of polishing bones of the dead is due to remember the departed and show respect to one's ancestors. Not too often do you see an imagery of a black cat associated to Santa Muerte, or say like on her statue, or some type of imagery on her statue in regards to a black cat, but it does exist. However, it does represent good and bad fortune also, but it also symbolizes protection. However, in general, in Mexico, the black cat is seen as a bad omen, but not in the case of Santa Muerte. Again, coins and currency are used to, in her imagery, in her statue. Again, she might be standing on a pile of coins. Is used to invoke success in business and finances. You may also see that she might be standing on a symbol of Earth, or there might be a symbol of Earth or a globe of Earth under one of her feet. And this symbolizes and shows her power over earthly immaterial affairs. Horseshoes are also common on the statue and in her imagery and at various parts of the statue. It's associated with protection and good fortune, and this also sometimes represents the crescent moon, as Santa Muerte has some similarities to Mediterranean goddesses, as well as Mary as Our Lady of Guadalupe. And this is also seen as a symbol of feminine power, as it resembles the vulva. Sometimes you will see a lamp or a lantern, and this is a symbol to a light in the darkness. The lamp also symbolizes illumination and is a symbol of Luciferian rebellion. Owls are also depicted on her statue, generally with 2 owls, though sometimes with only one. When you do see the 2 owls, one is usually perched at her feet, and the other will be sitting on one of her shoulders. In Mexico, witches are often seen as being able to take on the form of owls, and the owl has a connection to goddesses of death and wisdom in Western Europe. Those are particularly associated with Hecate and Minerva and Athena. Owls are also symbols of power and healing, rejuvenation, and earthly riches. Roses symbolize Mary and the goddesses who have power over life force. The scales of justice are most often always seen in a statue or imagery of Santa Muerte, and that is directly linked to her association with the Egyptian goddess Mat. Okay, the scales represent law, order, balance, and justice, and she uses the scales to bring justice to those who have been wronged, or when criminals would go normally unpunished for their deeds. You will most always see a scythe in an imagery of Santa Muerte, and this is for reaping and harvesting of souls and powers over death. And skull or skeletons represent our ancestors and the spiritual powers. Also, it is a direct reference to her link to the Mexican Indian heritage. It's almost 7:30. I'm almost done here, and once I get everything uploaded, it's going to be time for me to go to bed because I do have to work my third shift job tonight. Statues of Santa Muerte come in a wide range of colors and meanings and usage for those. Okay, so newcomers, when purchasing a statue, it is often suggested that you go with the color black to start out with. Okay, there are a variety of statues on the market that come and multicolored, and it seems that this does appeal to a wider audience. But not everybody can afford to buy 12 different colored statues of Santa Muerte. So probably one of the more appealing reasons why multicolored statues are offered on the market. Okay. The following imageries you're going to see here, you see I have one here of red and one of gold, and this is technically or typical of what you were going to find in a local shop or online. These tend to be the statues that appeal to a lot of Santa Muerte devotees. Generally, when it does come to a ritual for something, you do want to use an appropriate color statue. So obviously, if you were doing, some type of healing ritual, you would have, I believe it's amber, if I'm not mistaken, for healing. And again, like I said, not everybody has the amount of money to purchase, multiple different, colored statues. However, again, you have these multicolored statues, and here's one example. And this particular one where it has her sitting on a throne here, this is my personal one that I have on an altar that I have devoted to her. Okay, just as a note though, that when you do find these multicolored statues listed, particularly online, they'll usually be called or referred to something as like 7 Powers Santa Muerte statue, something like that. Of course, when it comes to purchasing any type of imagery of her or anything else, go with a purchase that appeals to you and what you like, as well as by the means of which you can purchase. Okay, so don't try to overgo your budget if you have a budget to go on. The colors and their meanings are as follows. Amber is for healing, breaking bad habits and addictions. Black is for strength, power, total protection against enemies, hexing, and revenge. Blue is for wisdom, increased mental powers, and concentration. Bone color is for peace and harmony in the home. Brown for spirit communication, location of lost objects, divination, protection of family pets. Copper for exorcism and removal of evil spirits. Gold for abundance, wealth, power, success and good fortune. Green for contracts, legal matters, courts, justice, and unity. Orange for cleansing and healing. Purple for transformation, high spiritual states, removal of obstacles, psychic manifestation and power. Red for love, romance, passion, and protection from evil. Silver for good luck and success. White for protection, peace and harmony in the home, loyalty, health, and healing of children. And yellow is for good luck, learning, and wisdom. When it comes to making offerings to Santa Muerte, there are a lot. I'm going to go through a fairly short list. And I'll just really kind of like hit on the more notable ones that you might want to focus on. Of course, you can find more comprehensive lists online or listed in other books. Grain alcohol is, or just alcohol, is loved by her, particularly whiskey, tequila, and rum. She also does like dark beers and dark red wines. These can often be, if you can place a whole bottle of wine or something on the altar, then that's fine. But usually this type of stuff is just placed in a shot glass on the altar for a set amount of time as an offering. Baked goods, especially those that you make yourself, cookies, cakes, pies, breads. These are all loved by her. Again, especially if you make these, for her, like by your own hand. These help to ward off poverty and bring peace in the home and make sure that your needs are met. Candies, sweets she loves, especially cinnamon flavored candies. If you have a need that needs to be expedited, cinnamon flavored candy is a good offering to place on her altar, as well as chocolate. Coffee can be used. Coffee, when brewed, tends to lend energy and speed to a working. However, you can grind fresh coffee beans or leave whole coffee beans on a plate or in a bowl. That's typically fine as well. Coins and currency are especially liked, especially if you have business needs and money and success needs. I'm going to just kind of say in a broad spectrum: flowers, fruits, gemstones, and herbs. And that covers a lot, typically, and that's going to vary based on the type of working and petition that you have towards her. So you're going to want to kind of do a little bit of research as far as, what types of flowers or fruits or herbs that you want to use. Regarding gemstones, there is a correspondence in the second volume of the series that does talk about gemstones and which ones can be and are typically used and for what reasons when dealing with petitions to Santa Muerte. Honey is often used on the altar to sweeten your relationships. Salt is used for purification. Corn and flour tortillas are used to promote life force and prosperity. Okay, and then fresh water. A glass of fresh water should always be present on the altar, and this is actually fairly typical to any saint that you work with. You usually keep a glass of fresh water on the altar on a daily basis. Okay, and the last two I want to mention are one, tobacco. Okay, this is typical again in North American Indian practices. Burning tobacco is used to make contact with spirits, often used in healing, purification, and again, spiritual connections. There are some people that see as blowing smoke on the altar from a cigar to be disrespectful. However, this is not really the case, especially with Santa Muerte. Blowing smoke from a cigar on the altar helps to purify it, and blowing smoke from the cigar into the face of Santa Muerte helps to make a spiritual connection to her. And typically when you have cigars or you're doing something like this, you would typically purchase 2 cigars, one to purify the altar with and to make a connection with her spiritually, and the other simply to place on her altar as an offering. Also, if you're going to use tobacco or some type of tobacco product, you want to make sure that it's a natural source of tobacco, something that's not processed with chemicals. You want to try to shy away from packaged cigarettes and stuff like that. I would suggest going to like a pipe or a tobacco shop. They'll probably have a fairly small selection of natural tobaccos that are just simply like cut leaf or, very few additives. Spending a little extra for something like that probably is going to help pay for itself in the long run. If you're having problems maybe obtaining this type of tobacco product, you might want to go back to, like, say, the market that you purchased your Santa Muerte items from. People there may have suggestions on where you can go as far as to, find those types of products within Latino markets, okay? And a final note, marijuana can be used in place of tobacco. However, I'm not condoning of this myself. You should, of course, be familiar with your own cities and state laws concerning the recreational use of marijuana in the place that you live. So if that's something that you want to go ahead and use in your practices to Santa Muerte, again, do your due diligence on that. Okay. That pretty much covers most of Volume 1 as far as the series go. It does consist of the last third of the book pretty much does consist of prayers and rituals that the devotee can begin with. One of the reasons why I suggested the need or the use of getting a rosary with Santa Muerte is that when you do, one of the first prayers you actually come to when you get towards the back of the book is it says the a new devotee will encounter the prayer called Promises from Santa Muerte to devotees who devotedly pray the rosary to her. And it's just things that she says that she will do for you. For instance, I shall protect you from evil. I shall protect you from sudden death. I shall protect you from dying alone. I shall answer your prayers. I shall perform miracles. I shall never forsake you in your time of need. I shall be your guide. I shall be your heart. I shall heal your heart. I shall satisfy your desires. Souls in purgatory will be freed by means of this rosary, and those who share the rosary of Santa Muerte will always be dearest to my heart, and I will never forsake them. Okay, so again, you don't have to do the rosary. I suggest that you do. Again, if you're going to be a devotee to her, it's probably in your best interest to go ahead and do that. Again, you're going to find additional prayers and rituals for things like home protection in the book, revenge, business protection, returning of lovers, prayers for thanking the most holy death, the variety of divination rituals, protections for, again, pregnant women, unborn babies, rituals of exorcism, stuff like that, and the list goes on and on and on. When you get to Volume 2 of the series, the practitioner is introduced to more intermediate workings with Most Holy Death, and finally some more advanced rituals. Intermediate rituals will teach you how to use the altar as a generator for storing power for later use. The book also talks about how to purposefully set and arrange items on the altar for transferring and storing of energy. There are additional prayers and meditations to charge objects and the altar itself with greater power as a devotee to Santa Muerte. It also covers, again, gemstones and their meanings and correspondences to Santa Muerte's powers. You'll also have a chapter that discusses the influence of numerology on the altar, as well as various arrangements of how candles should be placed on the altar to have the most effect. And regarding more advanced rituals, these include 3 rituals to communication with the dead, more divination rituals with Santa Muerte, rituals on development of occult and powers and to achieve higher spiritual states. This is typically just what it sounds like. It covers areas like telekinesis, telepathy, astral projection, and so on and so forth. But it also does cover a section on things like bilocation, communication with birds, animals, and insects, consciousness transference, and transmogrification, or what is sometimes known as shape-shifting. That is covered in the advanced section, as well as rituals and talismans to influence weather. And finally, it ends with a piece on transcendence. So the 2-volume set, it does have a lot of information in it. I don't know when I'm going to get around to using doing a lot of these and seeing how well they work for me. But then again, I've kind of been a little bit limited on some time as of late. But she does require some daily prayers and some regular devotion. So if that's something that you want to look into, if you're looking for a spirit or an entity that is not going to require, say, like a blood sacrifice on a regular basis, or something that's not overly demanding, Santa Muerte might be the one that you want to look towards to start working with. It's not to say that she's going to appeal to everybody, because let's face it, she does have a way of telling you how it is. She's not going to really sugarcoat things. But once you get to know her, she's going to be kind of saying, you really shouldn't be doing that, or you could be a better person if you did this. She's going to be like your grandmother. Excuse me. Think of it in that respect. Think of it as having your grandmother around, and they're telling you what you should be doing and could be doing to become a better person, to have better opportunities in your life and stuff like that. So just something to think about. So with that, folks, I'm going to go ahead and call this video done. I'm actually surprised it took less than 45 minutes. But I'm going to go ahead and get this video processed up and get it uploaded to YouTube for you to listen to. And until next time, folks, I do appreciate you stopping by and listening to this book review. Until then, peace, farewell, and infernal blessings. Take care. Bye.